Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's Thrive in China Roundtable, where we're going to be talking about how to start up your business in China with one of the most vital employees that you'll ever have, which is your Chinese accountant. Before we start off today's presentation, I just want to explain to you how the roundtable is working. So what we do is we're here to teach and educate you on what we believe are the vital components to running a successful business in China. But on top of that, we are here to educate you on how to also avoid the most common obstacles and roadblocks that will appear along your journey in China. Today's topic is specifically around how to start off your business with your Chinese accountant, because our belief is that that is such a vital role to be successful in China. If you have any questions whatsoever in regards to the topic or in regards to the theme, please don't hesitate to put that inside the chat box. We will definitely answer that during the Q&A. This is your time spent for the next 60 minutes, so do use it wisely. And again, we're here to help. From a technical standpoint, we are using Zoom meetings, so if you do run into any connectivity issues, my only advice would be to log off, log back in. If anything happens to me, it usually takes about 1 to 2 minutes for me to reboot the system, and then I'll be logging back in as well to finish off today's presentation. Today's presentation is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be provided to everybody. And I understand that the majority of people are watching this on replay in any case. A little bit of an introduction to who I am. I am the China expert for the week. My name is Kristina Koehler-Coluccia. I'm the head of business advisory at Woodburn Accountants and Advisors, and I'm a leading expert on inbound investment into China. My niche is helping companies, foreign invested companies, to enter the Chinese market wisely by I have created a type of theme for success, which is to obtain 9 superpowers that are truly needed to create a solid foundation for the business in China. We help companies in all stages of their journey, everything from the pre-investment stage to the actual execution and implementation phase, all the way through to focusing on the growth and scale of the organization in China. Some of our services would include trademark registrations, incorporations, accounting, tax outsourcing solutions, tax advisory, recruitment of in-house finance people, as well as the appointment as a non-executive director for the China business or as the finance manager, outsourced CFO solutions. If you are interested to learn more about what we do and the type of advisory that we give, and basically why we are the experts, you can go off to our YouTube channel where we have daily videos that are posted, as well as old webinars that we have done. In addition, if you're interested in receiving a copy of our free ebook, which is the 10 biggest mistakes companies make in China, do let us know. We'd be happy to provide that to you as well. You can just email us at Kristina@woodburnglobal.com for that. So my belief at the moment in regards to China is the following. I understand that there are severe lockdowns that are going on, very difficult to source, supply, distribute in China at the moment. Highways are shut down, ports are only at half mass. It's extremely difficult to be operating right now in China. So perhaps right now is not the best time to incorporate an entity. It might even be on hold in the middle with the Ministry of Commerce, but it does not mean that you cannot prepare yourself. And I'm in the mindset for the last 4 weeks that's very similar to the mindset that I developed in 2020, which is preparation is key to succeed in China. If you have not done your homework, in terms of understanding your sales strategies, understanding how you're actually going to physically operate your business, then you will run into roadblocks and obstacles that you could have potentially prevented had you done your homework and had you gone through the preparation phase. So I just want to highlight that, I understand that a lot of people are hesitant about hitting that green light, about going to China or continuing their operations in China. China is not going away. COVID eventually will, and Europe as well as the US have shown the world that you can continue your life even living within COVID. I'm not going to say anything about the zero COVID policy and get into a political debate, but China is still a country of great opportunity. So the key is preparing yourself for that opportunity and doing your homework so that at the point that things open up and you can start executing your plans, you're prepared. So today's topic is about how to start your business with your China accountant. And the reason why I'm hitting on this topic is because when I look at the startups, and all of my clients in China are ultimately startups in China, right? They're starting off their businesses, they're figuring out their way into the market, they're figuring about sales channels, etc. And the one area where I see the lack of attention paid is on the finance side. So I've developed this webinar to really highlight the value of having a proper accountant. I don't care about the role, whether it's finance manager, CFO, whether it's senior accountant, whether it's junior accountant. It's having somebody that has an accounting expertise, has a background that can bring value and advisory to your organization, so that, again, you avoid the roadblocks, you avoid the obstacles, and you're on the right path. Most people, when they're starting up, focus on the core function, the core short-term function of why they are in China, which could be around sales. So they're focusing on BD managers and sales managers. They might be looking at supply chain managers, brand managers, versus looking at the core operational function, which is really the finance team. So what are the pain points of having a Chinese accountant to a foreign investor? The pain points are this. You tend, I say you, I'm generalizing, a lot of foreign investors have the tendency to cut costs, and they cut costs in the administrative functions associated with their business. But then this leads to multiple pain points, which is a lack of transparency, because you're either not using the right outsource provider or you haven't hired the right accountant who's giving you that transparency. There might be a lack of understanding and language capabilities. There might be a lack, just very simply a lack of communication, which obviously the pandemic hasn't helped, but there's no excuse for not being able to talk to your accountant or your administration team on a daily basis. And last but not least, it's spending more money on less quality compared to your own home jurisdiction. And what I mean by that is you are not properly analyzing the market to understand what values you need in a person or in an organization that you're outsourcing these functions to, compared to your own finance team in your own home jurisdiction. So these are usually the pain points that I'm seeing companies are making quick decisions on, and hence it leads to this, which then leads ultimately to chaos, to not being able to make decisions, because my belief is that you have to make the most important decisions based on numbers, on your financial numbers, on analyzing those numbers. And obviously, as a GM, if you don't necessarily have a finance background, or if you've hired a BD manager, he might not necessarily have a finance background to properly help you in making decisions in regards to how to pivot your business, how to move in another direction, how to cut costs, how to elevate costs, how to think about a return on investment per marketing campaign, etc. So again, I just want to emphasize how vital this role is. And the biggest question I would have for all of you is really, how much value do you place in your finance team? I've just completed a recruitment project for a client in Hong Kong, where it's the first time where I've truly seen them focusing on the importance of having the right head of finance on their team. Somebody who has an analytical mind, who thinks outside of the box, who understands the tax regimes and can create tax optimized structures, and not only think about that, but also think about gross profit margins, thinking about cutting costs, thinking about which direction to turn to in regards to marketing campaigns or which products to focus more attention on. This is what your finance team should be aiding you with, obviously in the support of the sales team, the BD team, the marketing team, the supply chain team, etc. But the finance team should be doing this analytical work, or the finance person should be doing this analytical work. And if you don't have that finance background, you should truly outsource this to somebody or hire somebody in-house who can do that for you. So I wanted to take this presentation in a direction that probably many of you thought wouldn't go, but I actually wanted to give you a responsibility list. What should a Chinese accountant be doing for you in all phases of your growth? Okay, and it's a long checklist, and I'll go through it slowly. But in the startup phase, your outsourced finance provider or your in-house finance person, and there's always different titles, so I'm just generalizing it now. In the startup phase, they should have enough knowledge to be able to determine the best business structure for your situation and advise you on that. Of course, you can always have legal providers give you aid as well, but that's also a nice test to ask, what would you recommend as the best business structure? And if there's somebody who comes really from the industry, they might have different opinions from your lawyers or from your corporate service providers. They should assist you with the financial analysis and your business plan. So looking in detail at the business plan of your organization and looking at the financials that are accompanying that, and analyzing, does the business plan have leakages? Do we need to plug those leakages? How are we going to plug those leakages? It's providing advice on your ERP system. What accounting software system or general ERP system are you going to be utilizing for your China business? And they should be giving you advice based on the budget that you've allocated for this and what would be the best providers. It's providing advice and assistance on opening a business bank account. So they should also be responsible for investigating what is the right bank to work with. Should you be working with multiple banks? Should there be a combination of a foreign bank together with a Chinese bank? And assisting you also in operating that bank account, setting up the SOPs, the standard operating procedures on who has the authorities on the accounts. Does someone in HQ, and giving you the pros and cons of that. It's making sure that you also set up your accounting procedures, right? And not only that they comply with the government regulations, but that they are also efficient for the operations that you are setting up in China. It's getting all of this foundation correct in this startup process. It's providing advice on how to track expenses during your daily, weekly business activities, making sure that the fapiaos that are being received are authentic and true. It's explaining the importance of keeping personal and business expenses separate, especially if you are an entrepreneur going into China and you think you can allocate all of your personal expenses into the business. Of course, there are certain benefits of doing that from an individual income tax. And again, this is where your finance, head of finance, your outsourced provider should be giving you this expertise and advice on. So that's just the startup phase. Then comes the regular business operations, right? So from a day-to-day perspective, what should your finance people be doing? They should be ensuring that your independent contractors are classified as such, that your employees are classified as employees, that there's all the supporting documentation that is there for contracts, employee handbooks, etc. They should be doing everything associated with tax, but specifically with VAT. It's issuing VAT invoices, following up on the receipt of VAT invoices from contractors, calculating the VAT payables. It's obtaining the VAT receipts from suppliers. And also issuing the VAT invoices to customers. It's explaining your financial statements so you can understand truly the ins and outs of your business. So it's going through with it. So it's obviously generating these financial statements and possibly doing the bookkeeping and all of that. But it's also then generating your P&L, your balance sheet, your cash flow statement, perhaps even your trial balance for HQ, and explaining the ins and outs of everything that has been booked. Because again, If you are in your startup phase, you want to create a foundation where your charts of accounts, which are really your line items in your P&L, are correct. And everything is allocated in the right line items. It's overseeing the company payroll and expenditure payment processes, providing advice on tax payments and how to optimize the company's tax situation. It's closing out the books for the year end, and it's compiling and submitting all of the taxes financial statements throughout the year, as well as then doing all of the annual compliance work that's associated with the company. Then obviously in the business growth stage, it is determining areas of growth by providing insight on cash flow patterns, inventory management, pricing, margins, financing. It's providing advice on perhaps the leasing agreement or other options in relation to the property of your registered office address. If you're manufacturing or trading, perhaps you need to lease equipment, purchase equipment. It's helping you to prevent getting audited by the Chinese tax bureaus. And a part of that would be creating standard operating procedures, being able to answer your tax officer timely and correctly in regards to the whole transactional flow of your business. It's preparing you and guiding you through an audit, if necessary, the year-end audit or a tax audit, if that were to happen. It's creating financial forecasts so that you can make better decisions in regards to your business. It's creating basically a scenario planning, scenario A, scenario B, scenario C, if what should happen in case of. It's working with you to continuously update and amend your budgets that will obviously then support your business goals. It's potentially creating your business goals, your ultimate business goals over a 2, 3, 4, 5-year time frame, and giving you weekly updates on are you achieving those goals. It's providing advice and resources to assist you with potentially the sale of your business, or of course, acquiring new investors into the business. So this is the job description ultimately, right? And obviously I haven't even added everything else. There's also the communication with your HQ, explaining to the finance team in your HQ why the situation is as it is in China and all of that. I haven't even added that part into the discussion. So what are the 3 things I think ultimately that a Chinese accountant should do for you for your China business is help you to delegate a lot of this analytical work, compliance work, to save time and energy so that your focus can be put actually on the core functions of the business. I think it would also help you in terms of your sanity to have somebody who's qualified, has very good communication skills to be able to communicate with you on a situation that is occurring in the business. It's to make real-time decisions in regards to the business. You know, guys, when you are doing your accounting in China, you have to produce monthly reports because if you're a general VAT taxpayer, you're declaring your VAT on a monthly basis. And, you know, if you look at a month, you have the 1st of May to the 30th of May, 31st of May. Then your report for May is usually done between the first, it's done by the 5th to the 15th of the month. So if you look at that, you're only going to be making a decision much later in the game. Your accountant should be giving you either daily, if not weekly, updates on what is occurring in the business so you can make real-time decisions right there and then instead of waiting for the financial management reports to appear. They should be active daily in your business to be able to give you that support. And you might say, Kristina, in the startup phase, we're not going to have so many transactions running through that it's easy to see what is happening. Fair enough. But at some point, transactional volume will increase where it will get out of hand. And then the chaos appears because you don't have standard operating procedures and you actually don't have somebody in-house helping and guiding your business. You've got to continuously make real-time decisions in regards to the business in China. You have to pivot consistently. And you got to plan for the future. again, the scenario development and the forecasting is critical as well for the business. So my advice is always invest in an excellent accountant, whether that's somebody you hire in-house or whether that's somebody, a company that you outsource to that is helping you to perform all of these functions on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. Now, how to qualify accountants in China, right? How can you tell the good ones from the bad ones? All right. Here are just a couple of checkpoints that I would go through if I was interviewing somebody in-house, to bring somebody in-house, or if I was actually going to an outsourced provider. One is having an understanding of up-to-date tax knowledge, which you can also Google. So there's always certain questions that you can bring out and try to see where they are in their knowledge level. You can also look at their business acumen. So you can also provide them with a case study and ask them, could you do some analytical work for me or help me make, based on this data, business decisions around the company? At the same time of doing that, they can then present how well they present, right? Do they have a presentation prowess? Do they have the ability to explain the current situation of the business, where it's leading to then give you that business decision-making ability to move forward? Do they have the accounting and tax technical ability and network with the tax bureaus, with the State Administration of Foreign Exchange, potentially with banks? Do they have the emotional intelligence, where again, there you can do certain tests and in the interview phase? Do they have internal auditing capabilities so that once in a while they can do a health check on you? What is the management and leadership strength? Are they prepared to be the bad guys? I always tease people who are accountants or financial controllers or finance managers, because in the eyes of every other department in a company, they are truly the bad guys, because they are the financial controllers telling you, yes, you can do this campaign. No, you can't, because the return of investment is less. They are the people who are making really these business decisions or guiding and helping in these business decisions. So they're usually the bad guys and considered to be the bad guys. So do they have that management and leadership strength to push forward and really also then present well why they would reject something? Are they proactive? Now, most accountants, and I'm generalizing, but I want to say for a good 80% of accountants, these are people that are sitting back behind a desk, behind a screen, and plugging numbers in and analyzing numbers. They might not necessarily have social skills or necessarily be proactive to aiding decision makers to make decisions. And this is particularly so in China. There's a lot of training that does have to happen with these individuals to make them become more proactive and be interested and curious enough to gain new skills. So that's just a warning tip. And then obviously you want to have someone who you can communicate with and that your people in the HQ can communicate with, because you can't do all the work as a leader, as a GM. You need to be able to delegate this to somebody who's got the communication skills to be able to do all of that. So the steps to start your business with your Chinese accountant, right? Here are, I believe I made 12 steps, if I remember correctly, in terms of what your action plan should be with your accountant. And this is just a base, a foundation of what is your checklist to do as you are setting up your company and as you're moving forward. And this is sort of our checklist as well when we onboard clients. So it's creating a budget for the China business. It's setting KPI targets, setting goals and objectives. It's choosing an accounting software system that obviously could be part of your outsourced provider. It's something you purchase in-house. It's then implementing and providing training for that software system, initializing the system, right, with client names, with supplier names, with all of your types of expenses. So it's really creating your charts of accounts with the line items that you need, which is point 4. Then it's deciding whether you're going to have one set of books or you're going to have 2 sets of books. The first set of books must be according to PRC GAAP, which is something what I call, I nicknamed it Fapiao accounting, because it is truly based around the issuance and receipt of Fapiaos, which is sometimes not always based on a proper accrual basis, which you can still do in your Chinese set of books, but it does require then a lot of explanation with the tax bureaus that you might just want to avoid, hence creating two sets of books. It's creating a standard operating procedure on how you want to receive data and figures. So is it obtaining weekly bank information, daily bank information? When are you going to receive the bank balances? When are you going to have an AR, an aging accounts receivable list? When it's looking at all your accounts payables, it's looking at overseas incoming payments. It's looking at overseas outgoing payments and getting a weekly understanding of your cash flow, right? It's setting up a meeting if obviously something strange is appearing, like if you see your bank balance or you are seeing your aged accounts receivable and there is a trigger for you or a warning sign for you, you've got to set up meetings immediately to discuss this with your finance person, right? And it seems strange that I'm adding that in, but this is the issue, is that as a GM or an entrepreneur, your tendency is to really focus on the core functions. And although you'll see a red sign in your financials, you just don't have the time to talk to a finance person. So you don't do it. So it is setting up regular meetings, either on a weekly, bi-monthly, or monthly basis to get those updates and ask those questions. And obviously, if the person is sitting next to you, it's asking them straight away. It's setting up a deadline for the financial management reports based on obviously the Fapiao accounting reports, or if you've got the accrual reports, how you're going to manage that. It's setting up a meeting to review those reports line item by line item, reviewing budget against the actuals, reviewing whether targets are achievable, whether we have to reforecast, whether we have to do scenario planning, etc. It's then actually executing that, the minutes of that meeting, and then going through the reforecast, amending, and then doing another review again. Okay, it's not that you have one meeting to say, this is what needs to change, doing it, and then never looking at it again. No, it's setting up that meeting, having a discussion, reforecasting, amending, and then reviewing again. It's creating an action plan. So every meeting, there should be an action plan of next steps to improve efficiencies. I love this mindset, which is called Kaizen, which is a Japanese mindset of continuous improvement. You can always have continuous improvement within your organization, and there should be, particularly in the startup phase, but as well as when you scale and grow, to continuously improve. You need to talk about problems. Nobody likes to talk about problems, but these should always be raised, whether it's communication difficulties, interdepartmental issues, etc. It's always thinking ahead. So discussing growth, investment plans, new product lines, new service lines, eliminating costs, eliminating product lines, eliminating service lines, adding headcount, reducing headcount. I mean, all of this needs to be discussed in terms of the next few months. So in short, that's just a brief action plan of what you should be doing on a continuous basis to be consistent, build momentum, and have continuous conversations with your finance team. And in theory, you should be speaking to your accountant daily, if not every other day, but at a minimum on a weekly basis to know what is going on within your organization. So that's the end of today's presentation. I know we've only got one participant live today, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who watch this on replay. But I would love to hear what was your biggest takeaway from today. You can just add that quickly into the chat box. And obviously, if there are any questions, put them into the chat box as well. That's why we're here. And the whole point is to have a roundtable discussion around the questions that do pop in. As things might be coming in, I just want to explain how you could work with Woodburn and myself. We offer a wide variety of services, everything from incorporation advisory, actually executing the incorporations in China, doing competitor business scope benchmarking. We offer appointments of individuals as supervisor, finance manager, non-executive director. We can also act as your China business mentor, particularly in the startup growth phase. We can offer tax advisory, outsourcing solutions for accounting, tax, payroll, compliance, and we can also help with the recruitment of in-house finance team. So if any of these services are of interest to you, or you would just simply like to have a one-to-one discussion about your finance team in China, the value it should be bringing, how to find people and whatnot, you can easily set up a call with me and we can discuss. Last but not least, this is our weekly Thrive in China roundtable, which we will in May be setting up a WeChat account for Thrive in China, where we hope to bring out these conversations more into a daily conversation on how to help people scale up and grow in China. The next roundtable event, so as you have subscribed for this one and the previous ones, you are continuously subscribed for all of our roundtables to the year end. So these are the next 5 roundtables that we've got up and coming. Next week, we're going to be talking about how to write a business plan for China. On the 18th, we're talking about 6 ways to do business in China without setting up an office or an entity. We're going to talk about how to vet your potential business partners, how to register your trademark. And then we've got a guest speaker on June 8th who's going to be talking about effective China PR in the digital era, the do's and don'ts. So definitely join what you can, but remember, you will always be getting the replay, the recordings of these in any case, so you can always watch it in your free time as well. So I'm going to end the recording there. And again, if any questions pop in, I will stay on and answer them. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Take care and goodbye.